Welcome to my YouTube channel, Loc'D, and today we're going to do part 2 of Hot Girl Reads Recommendations, Author Edition, right? We're just talking about the authors, and then I'll let you know my favorite book of the authors. Make sense? If you haven't seen part 1, these recommendations are a response to Allie Coe trying to trademark a phrase that has been in the community, and the community came together and went ahead and canceled that trademark. And that's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. So let's start off. The first hot girl, these are not in any like particular order, but the first hot girl we're going to talk about is Libba Bray. Libba Bray, I never thought, you guys, there is a lot of series that I read or I start to read and then I like fall off. The Diviners was not one of them. The Diviners was not one of them. The Diviners had me going, a white woman wrote this every chapter. It still holds. I think the Diviners, the first book was written like in 2011 or some shit. Like, it was fantastic. I loved the entire cast. I loved how we talked about different abilities. I loved how it really showed of what was happening in New York and in the world at that time. I loved the different cultural ability, racial, gender, reputation that was in this series. It was done very, very well. I just loved it so much. So shout out to you, hot girl Libba Bray. The next hot girl I'm going to talk about is Alexandra House. She's one of my favorite Black romance writers. Alexandra House wrote a series called Them Boys, and I think it's 3 books in it, and I think it's like Ja, Set, and hold on, let me see if I can get all the series for you. Is Ja, Set, and Sha. And she wrote them in 2019 and 2020. And I just really loved them. They were short and sweet. I loved it. It definitely was like steeped in Black culture. I just loved it so much. So shout out to you, hot girl. And if you have read other books by her, let me know. She has so many great series. And that's why I really like her too. I also started reading her McLean Brothers series, but I did not finish them. I did read Let Me Love You, which I also liked. I just feel like I really like the Them Boys series better. So shout out to Alexandra. House. The next author I want to talk about is also a Black romance author. To me, she's like my favorite in my head. Like, when I think, even though I love Kennedy Ryan, I love Christina C. Jones way more. And not that it's like anything against Kennedy Ryan. I really love the way Christina C. Jones writes, and I've also read the most from her. And she is like goated. Everyone loves her. If you have not read Christina C. Jones, you clearly missing out on a beautiful hot girl and her pen. Understand me? The series I would recommend is The Reinvention of the Rose, which is a series that I think that she did very well in respect to people who have been trafficked. And even though that's not the premise of the book, it is like, these are some women who were trafficked, and we're following their lives and how they're finding love after something horrific has happened to them. So I really, really love that series. So that would be my recommendation there. And then the next hot girl we're going to talk about is Toni Morrison. And I really loved her book Sula. I think that the inner dialogue with the main character was done really well. I mean, any Toni Morrison will do for me. She is that girl. Shout out to her. RIP to her as well. She really was one of the greats. Seriously, one of the greats. And I also want to let you know, when I talked about in part 2 of this series of me talking about Hot Girl Reads Recommendation Author Edition, Her writing is similar to Karen Slaughter and Tananarive Due, where it's like not holding your hand, it's not sugarcoaty. She is literally putting you in the lives of Black people, and she wrote her stories for Black people. She has famously have been known of saying who she's writing her books for. So if you're reading it and you're like, I don't understand this reference, I don't think it was for you. And I also think it's unfair for you to take points away or ratings away because you didn't relate to it. There's a lot of books I read and I'd be like, what the hell? What the hell just happened here? I may not have known or understood most of it, but I got what was happening. I got the plot. And I feel that about quite a few of like indigenous authors I have read from. I may not have know everything that's going on, but I don't need to. I understand that we're talking about horror from a lens of grief and loss. And as a Black American, I understand that. I don't need to understand verbatim what the story is saying in order to understand what I'm supposed to be getting out of the story, right? So I just wanted to say that. And then the next hot girl is Lizelle Sandberry. I love her books. She's one of the authors, well, I will say that the pace is never slow. The pace is always good. And I love how she combined like Black folks and magic and loss and just like themes of family relationships in her books. I really love that about her books. And the book recommendation I will give you is Blood Like Magic. That's one of my favorite books that she has written. And another hot girl I want to talk about is Nalo Hopkinson. Nalo Hopkinson is an author that I first heard about her on Onyx Pages. And she is one of the first authors I see talk about having ADHD in such like an open way. She lives in Canada, and I just love like the Caribbean aspects that is throughout all of her books. And for me, my favorite book to date of hers is called Salt Roads. I really, really, really like Salt Roads. Salt Roads also follows the story of three characters and just the way that they were written and talking about like mundane things or just like very serious things that are happening in their lives. I just really love the storytelling in this book. But I also think that Black people have a very good way of telling stories, and Nalo Hopkinson definitely delivered. She delivered. I loved it. So shout out to Nell Hopkinson. I would always say her book called Skin Folk, it is just like a collection of stories. That was done really well too. Even in some serious parts, I found myself laughing, which you don't always get in literature. I feel like I'm more prone to laugh at a serious thing in a way that's like very specific to Black people, and a lot of Black people will have that interaction in movies or in like some kind of like visual media, and I don't always get that on like written text. So I really appreciate Nalo Hopkinson for that. And this hot girl is Talia Hibbert. She is a phenomenal romance writer. I just really love it. Typically, the romance that she reads is interracial romance, but I love it. I love them all. Each of the characters were my favorite. I would say that I related more to Get a Life, Chloe Brown. But Dani Brown, she got me too. And also Eve Brown got me too. I just really loved how these Black women were loved and how they still decided to show up for themselves, even though these relationships, they may have been, I wouldn't say like a little apprehensive at first, but I really love, they're just like, you can eat them up quick, fast, and in a hurry. So I really like the way that Talia writes. So she is another hot girl I wanted to talk to y'all about. Another one is Tracy Baptiste. And I really wanted to include her in this list because I read a lot of middle grade, and I think that the way that she writes the jumbies is really well. I think a lot of time in middle grades would make a good middle grade horror for me if I see the author is really showing like how conflict resolution and conflict can start when you're young, and teaching the reader how to resolve those conflicts even though they're in a stressful situation. And I think that young people really could learn for how conflict is resolved in middle grade. I think it's a great opportunity, a teaching opportunity. So I really love the series Jumbies. I'm reading it bi-monthly with my Patreons, and I just had to include Tracy Baptiste. And then another hot girl is Abike Iyimide. I hope I said her name right. I think her first name is Farah. And my favorite book of hers is Where Sleeping Girls Lie. She also has a book called Ace of Spades. I think she has another book that just recently came out or about to come out. But I really liked Where Sleeping Girls Lie. I love the setting. I love the character development. I also like how she plays with who you can trust, and kind of have like the main characters kind of go through some inner turmoil of thinking like, is this somebody I should trust, or is this situation trustworthy? Because if not, I'm in some real deep shit here. So I really like that a theme in her books. So definitely check out that hot girl. And then another hot girl I want to talk to you about is Ramona Emerson. Ramona Emerson wrote a book called Shutter. And then I do have her second book. I just don't have it in a way that I can see it or easily assess it right now. But Shutter follows the story of this indigenous woman who is essentially trying to find out what happened to her people. Also in this book, there's like a supernatural component. There's a ghost, and she just got to figure out what happens to this person who died. And she does this through her job as a forensic photographer. And just the way that the book was told, and also while you're reading it, I'm thinking about, the missing and murdered indigenous women throughout Turtle Island, and who listens to them, who is trying to find them, and why efforts aren't being poured into locating these missing and murdered relatives. So it really ties all that together, and I just thought it was beautifully written, and I can't wait to read her book that came after that in 2024 called Exposure. So she is a hot girl that needs to be mentioned as well. So these are just my 10 hot girls that I wanted to talk about. There's so many authors that I have not talked about. I really could probably do like a 10-part series on the women that I read and why I read them and why I love their books, and give you a recommendation. But I just wanted to start here. So let me know if you want a part 3. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.